Your daddy was working in the old main cafeteria,
Yeah,
and he was serving turnip greens one day.
my daddy.
And he was serving turnip greens, you pick it up, slop it in your plate, and that kind of stuff. And he realized this lady coming down the aisle was a Yankee. And she got to him, she said, "Son, what is this you're serving?" And he said, "Why, ma'am, them's turnip greens." And she said, "Then what is that cooked in it?" He said, "That ain't nothing but sow belly." She looked a little green and bypassed it.
So she wouldn't try?
She wouldn't even try.
That's strictly a southern dish.
Okay, I know you get tired of me asking you this, but Sarah wasn't there that night. She wouldn't. Got to tell her the story of you and Daddy getting in the fight at the bar. Not you and Daddy, but the fight at the bar.
Well, that first 6 weeks he went to Mississippi State. He came home sometime during that first 6 weeks, and his head was shaved, of course, and he was wearing a
Beanie.
Mississippi State beanie. And anyway, we went to the Gulf Trail Lodge in Sardis dancing, and this boy from Oxford came in. His name was Robert Level, and anyway, he was a freshman at Ole Miss, and he was wearing a beanie. Your daddy told him and said, "You want to keep that beanie?" And Robert told him, says, "Yeah, I think I do." And he said, "If you want to keep it, you got to fight for it." And Robert said, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way about it, but if that's the case, that's the case." Anyway, he came to me and he said, "I want to swap shirts with you." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Yours is not as nice as mine, and I'm fixed to fight." And I said, "You're fixing to get the hell beat out of you." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're going to get the hell beat out of you because he's on the boxing team at Ole Miss, and he's one of 7 brothers." And I said, "And he knows how to fight." Nevertheless, we went outside and they started fighting. Well, Robert Level was giving him a thorough drubbing.
I'm sure.
And anyway, these 5 ladies from Batesville, all mothers of girls that we'd like to dance with and everything,
Right.
drove up and they said, "Buddy," said, "isn't that fighting there, isn't that a friend of yours?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And they said, "Well, why don't you stop it?" I said, "If he asked for it, he's getting it." And anyway, when Robert Level got through with him, he was all beat up and bruised and so forth. And anyway, he got in my car.
Daddy.
Yeah, he got in my car and he vomited all over the outside of it and everything. But he went home. At that time, of course, even later, he was actually living in an apartment that he had behind the house.
That's right.
And anyway, so he went on in his apartment. Well, the next morning when he went in to have breakfast with your mom and daddy, they didn't recognize him. And anyway, so he was riding with a couple of fellas, one from Clarksdale and one from Rome, which is just south of Clarksdale. He was riding back with them. They were both seniors at Mississippi State, and they were fraternity brothers. He was a pledge at the time.
Daddy was a pledge.
Yeah, Daddy was a pledge, and he'll Kappa Sig. And anyway, so on the way back, of course, they had to get the story of how he had fought and everything. When Henry got back to state, he was the hero of the damn campus.
Fighting for the honor.
Fighting for the honor of
Mississippi
State. They had a
Over beanies.
special ring made for him.
Oh, I wonder where
They had
that
a
is.
special ring made for him.
What did it look like?
What did the ring look like?
The ring was a beautiful ring.
I mean, but did it have a beanie on it? I mean, what?
No, it had just had Mississippi State crest on it.
Okay.
And but anyway, he had it made for him. He was the freshman of the year. And he traded on that for 4 more years there.
He was everything.
Yeah.
Daddy was
fought
absolutely
Ole Miss
Mr. Everything.
for dear old state.
And
So
Mississippi
it
State.
was like the glory days.
It was the beanie.
Yeah,
He fought for the beanie.
he and 3 other friends had the first room on the right, next to the front door of Old Main
That's
Dormitory. He and I had lived on the 4th floor of Old Main, but they had this room, had the biggest room in the damn dormitory, and we were both out of the service and back in school, and I got a printed invitation to a party, a Christmas party, at Mississippi State, just before we all went off for holidays. And anyway,
You were at Ole Miss at that time.
I was at Ole Miss, but I got a engraved invitation, and anyway, so and it said full dress. So anyway, I put on my tux and went, and when I got to the door, I was announced at the door of this big old room, and Mr. So-and-so from Ole Miss was there, and so forth. And anyway, went in, everybody was very convivial, having a good time, and so forth. But they had a freshman dressed up and said, "What would you like to drink?" And it didn't make any difference what you wanted. You told them, but you got White Lightning.
That's all you got.
Was that moonshine?
Yeah. Daddy made it, didn't he?
I don't
In the
know.
bathtub. He made gin in the bathtub.
Yeah, but anyway, he had, he and these 2 other guys, one of them was named Wade, and he was with Wade Hardware.
That's right.
It has John Deere dealership. And then
George Wade.
George Wade.
And Lillian Wade was a sorority sister of mine.
Is he
Yeah.
from the
Jackson.
Delta?
No, George Wade I thought was from Jackson.
No, he wasn't. He's from Greenwood.
You're right.
Yeah,
I know that family. Lillian.
yeah.
Yes.
She was a sorority sister of mine.
Okay. Well, I can get back to that. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so finish. So the Wade and then
Well, anyway, one of his friends was a former pilot and a crop duster, and I can't remember his name, but then
his daughter was a sorority. Because I got
Yeah.
when this is over, I'll tell you about it.
and then I have to try to think about who the other one was, but he had 3 roommates.
This was Churnhead, Mallardhead,
Yeah,
and they all had a head. Something. Daddy was Churnhead,
yeah,
and somebody was Mallardhead, and somebody was Duckhead, and
Yeah.
somebody was, and that's what they called themselves. But there were 3 of us that pledged KD in the original class. We were the first class that kept it up, and we got along fine. I mean, we knew each other. We got along fine. I'm not going to use my phone. We got along fine. When they came to like Founders Day or something, all our parents came, and it was George Wade and the other guy and my daddy, and they hadn't seen each other but maybe once since college. And we didn't realize that the 3 of us had pledged together, and we were their children. Yeah,
that was day.
yeah. I remember George Wade, but the other one, I can't remember what his name is. I'll think about it. I never heard that part of the story.
Well,
Which part?
It was.
I never heard this.
This was an engraved invitation.
I've never heard this story.
An
Of
extra
the White
envelope.
Lightning?
They were just like a wedding.
And so you can say gin and tonic, and you get White Lightning.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got White Lightning regardless. That's what everybody drank, what they had. And they had bought it by the keg.
Bought it by the keg or made it by the keg?
They bought it by the keg. They bought it. There was a place across the railroad tracks.
Crossroads.
At Starkville. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, the bootleggers and so forth were largely over there.
Daddy always said he went to the woodpile.
Yeah,
The woodpile is in West Point,
yeah.
down the back road, and it's at West Point.
We were trying to figure that out last time, I think.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called? The woodpile?
When Daddy was in school. It was called the woodpile when I was in school, but I think it's gone. It's a service station.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that road is that goes around, that old
Yeah.
road that ends up at my
Right
grandmother's
across
house.
the railroad track.
Yeah, that ends
Yeah.
up at my grandmother's house.
Right.
And it used to tee out at a service station. If you went in the back of the service station, they had all this wood piled up,
Yeah.
and that's where you could go. And somebody would come out and, how much do you want or whatever, and you'd go to the wood pile and get. And they'd always send a freshman to go get the The crossroads, yes, but I mean
Yeah,
the
the
wood pile's
crossroads.
where you got liquor.
That was out on the road to Columbus.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
A friend of mine, a boy from Marks, passed out at the crossroads, and some of us Turnsey brothers put him on the back of a trailer truck, up in the trailer, and when he waked up, he was either in Aberdeen or Amory or somewhere over there.
Probably, yeah.
And anyway,
That's probably where he stayed too.
yeah, but he got off the truck there. He waked up and got off the truck and hitchhiked back to state.
And was ready to kill y'all, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure. But that's when you could do something like that.
I was taking tickets one day or one night, and AB and a friend of his, a fellow by the name of Gammon Henry, showed up with these two girls that I had never seen before. And Quitman County used to flood a lot. And anyway, they had gone on a John Deere tractor out to this, through the water, out to this country
My
house,
daddy.
and picked up these two gals and brought them to the movies.
Was that the only way to get them?
Well, I said to them, they've got a coming out
tractor?
party.
They
They came out of
coming out
the field.
party.
They came out of the field, and
Yeah.
they literally came out. But anyway, neither he nor Gammon ever showed up with either one of those girls again.
Oh, well, you know.
Could they not get them back home? Did they get
Oh yeah,
stuck or?
Loaded them back up on the tractor and took them back home. I
They
guess.
were honorable country boys. They took them home.
Fair enough.
They didn't leave them out. They were actually they treated the girls fine, I'm sure.
And you let them in, didn't you?
Naturally, they had tickets.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought maybe
No
you let
freebies there.
No freebies.
No.
No.
Well, I bet there was some kind of underground system with those tickets.
No, they just appeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, with their dates.
Did they sit in the balcony?
Huh?
Did they sit in the balcony?
No, that was strictly for blacks.
Okay.
You've never seen the girls before.
I had never seen them before.
And you never saw them again?
No, I don't recall ever seeing them again.
Well, that was probably a one-day deal.
Well, it was one evening anyway.
That's a
Well, if
one
you-
night stand.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But that's a lot of effort for a one night stand, I have to say, to get a tractor to go pick them up.
Well,
I got one more question, then I'll stop. Tell me your version of who Mary Virginia was.
she was Mary Virginia Wright.
Okay.
Her father was Mr. Carl Wright from Darling, and he owned a fair amount of farm property around as well as a sawmill. And he had two children, Carl Jr. and Mary Virginia. Mary Virginia was a beautiful girl.
Yeah, Daddy told me about her.
She was a knockout, I'm not kidding you. And anyway, when we were in high school, if they knew each other, I didn't know it. But later on, perhaps Mary Virginia was working in Jackson, and that was quite an affair for quite a long time.
But she'd been married, right?
She had been married
And she had a kid.
before. In fact, she was married to a boy whose family I knew, and they had married in high school.
Was Mary Virginia your daddy's?
He talked about Mary Virginia
Well, she was.
a lot.
I think-
And his mother, my grandmother, put her foot down and said, "You are not marrying a divorced woman," is what he told me.
Yeah.
That she put the quietus on it real
Well, I didn't know what happened there, and I never did ask him any questions
That's what he told
about
me.
it. But I'll say this: they had quite an affair, and it was. I envied him. I'll have to say that.
Well, even, the last month of my dad's life, we would sit there and I'd go, "Daddy, now tell me again who Mary Virginia was," and he'd go,
She first married a boy by the name of Son McCullough, but they were in high school.
"I'll be darned." And his other girlfriend, he had many, I think, but his other girlfriend that he talked about from time to time was Miss Idaho, that he met when he was in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, could very well be. See, he was stationed out
Yeah,
there.
stationed out
going
there.
to navigation.
Well, she was Miss Idaho.
Yeah.
And he or Miss whatever that went to the Miss America. I don't know. I don't even know if there was state then, but he loved her. And he said, I can remember I was on the plane, the crew plane, or wherever you get home from a place like that. And he said, I actually cried on the way home because I knew I'd never see her again. And he said, I absolutely adored that woman. And I'd go, more than Mary Virginia? And he'd go, But I mean, I kept him all perked up the last month that he was going down so bad. And it was hilarious. I go, well, what about Mother? Oh, Rocky. Oh, Rocky, she told me I had to marry her, and I did. I mean, you know, just, I mean, not because of anything, but he just,
She was ready to marry him. He had to marry her. That's what she wanted.
that's exactly right. Had a, she stalked him. I think my mother stalked Daddy.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I mean, she did. I believe it. I don't mean in a bad way, but.
Yeah.
And so she
She
would have.
knew what she wanted.
That's
she
right.
went
And she went after it. And she was a cheerleader at Mississippi State back when there weren't many women. I've got pictures of her being a cheerleader. And she was coming down the stairs, and Dad was going up the the circle stairs in Montgomery Hall. And she saw him, and she feigned a knee injury and fell into my daddy's arms. She timed it perfectly. And so I think he took her to the infirmary or did whatever, you know, being the
Knight in shining.
yeah, knight in shining armor. And she would, and he was supposed to dance with her, you know, because Mother was
She was a good
a
dancer.
good dancer.
Well, after all, she taught dancing.
Yeah. But I mean, at the dance things,
Yeah.
and it was when he got called off to the Army Air Corps.
Yeah.
And he had filled out her dance card, had like,
Yeah.
and he didn't show up or something. I mean, there's some story to that.
Well, the dance card, of course, was
An invitation.
an invitational deal, yeah. And,
Well, you're not a bad dancer yourself.
well, I learned.
He danced on cruise ships. He was one of the ones the hosts that were on cruise ships.
He was a gigolo on
Have you been on a cruise?
ship.
You've never been on a
I've
cruise?
never been on a cruise.
Okay, well, the fancy cruise ships, I mean, the like Crystal and those ones
They have men to
They
dance
have
with
men.
the women.
to dance with the single women or the widows and the whatevers. And he was one, you danced all over the place, didn't you?
Well, a lot of the world, yeah.
But there were rules and regulations. You couldn't.
I'm sure. I'm
Well,
sure.
there were, and they were very serious too.
How many
if
lost
you-
their jobs
That's
over
right.
those
If you
rules?
transgressed,
Yes.
they had legally could put you off at any port of call,
At your own expense.
at your own, and you get home at your own expense.
And how many people did you see take that risk?
I never saw any.
Really?
I never did. Fact is,
How many did you know got away with it?
I never did know any.
I know one thing. He had a black book of lots of women's names in there from a lot of everywhere. Everywhere, which meant he met them on a cruise ship.
Yeah. I
And
hope you
so
kept
it-
that black book.
It's
on there
somewhere around.
Yeah. No, I
She was the one that wore the white anklets and the black
Show me a
shoes.
picture. Y'all, it
White
looked like
anklet
she could
socks?
have come over from the old country. She had on black lace-up shoes and white anklets. A.B. wanted him to marry her because she had some land.
She had 640 acres of Iowa
Oh,
land.
I thought she wanted to marry because
no,
of
Daddy
land.
wanted Buddy
Daddy
to marry.
He wanted me
Oh,
to.
they were apparently keeping up corresponding and all because he had pictures of her and all of this. So A.B. said, you better latch on to her, she's got land. And
My
I
daddy and his
I saw
land.
the picture.
He
And y'all-
saw the potential. So would she send you a picture of her like
Oh, yeah,
by
I
the
had-
field of
Yeah.
land and
I had pictures of her and her daughters and
Yeah,
and
she
her
was standing
place
in front of the
Texas
trailer
and everything. Yeah.
with her
Sarah.
white ankles.
Sarah.
She had a very nice trailer down in Texas.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was a
With a
it
double
was
wide.
a nice
it was
trailer.
one of those
Double
homes
wide.
they set up for people who live there part of the year and
Ah.
everything in a way.
A double wide.
Yeah.
Did you go there?
No, I was invited, but I never did go.
How do you know what it was?
I had
The
pictures. of it.
pictures, the
Oh, okay.
pictures, Sean.
Pictures of it.
Might not have been hers, you never know.
Well, she was standing in front of it. But Lord, those black shoes and white anklets.
In the trailer.
She looked like from
Could you
Holocaust.
imagine where you'd be today if you would have went after that?
Well, probably in Iowa.
Yep.
Oh Lord.
Then
Probably
you'd be-
blown away by a tornado.
You'd be playing Mississippi State in the Outback Bowl.
Yeah, that could very well be.
Yeah.